So there's been some recent conversation about the fact that the Trump administration just decided to do away with the National Law Enforcement Accountability Database. And it brings up a lot of really important questions that we should always be grappling with. And those questions are about what is the symbolic value of reforms that seem to exist for reform's sake versus the destruction of those reforms that also have a symbolic statement attached to them. And so let's talk about it in this case. What does all of this mean for us? How do we talk about it with each other? With this National Law Enforcement Database, which came from the Biden administration, the idea was that records would be kept and accumulated and stored in a database that would allow law enforcement agencies to know if an officer or potential officer applying to join their department had committed acts of harm, violence, other discretions in their past. That database isn't public. We don't get to know, we don't get to access it, and law enforcement agencies can choose to access it if they don't want. Has it created some sort of structure of reforms in police departments across the country? And most importantly, has there been a lessening of incidents of state violence, of police violence, etc., of misconduct, of corruption? And so far the answer is no. It has not had a marked impact on that. So one can safely call it a symbolic reform. And then one can ask, what's the value of that? What's the value of an administration saying they care about something and showing you they don't care about it? And then on the flip side, Trump doing away with it, it's going to be interesting to see when we have a government from the city to the county to the state to the federal level, our systems of governance are completely broken. They contract away all of the work to private firms. We don't even have bureaucracy anymore. And that wasn't good either. We have decision making on the front end, procurement and contracting on the back end, and it's a complete mess. So even the horrible things our government wants to do, they might not have the competence or even infrastructure to do it. But he's using the press release to symbolically state where his administration stands, versus the last administration that would state where they stood even though they didn't stand there. But what are we actually responding to materially, and what are we responding to symbolically? And that's going to be a set of questions for us to sit with and talk about and work through a lot moving forward.